Happy Friday night. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. It is great to see you together at last. Together forever. Tss, tss, tss. We're tying a knot. Shh, shh, shh. Do you know what musical that is? They never can sever. Well, we'll see how it goes anyway. I've been quite sick and I am feeling better. I'm feeling better for the moment, obviously. Um, it's great to be back. It's great to see everybody. I really wanted to come on tonight and run a show and have like some grown up times and some rug talk-ins and all of that fun stuff. It really lifts me right up. I'm sorry I missed you Monday and Wednesday this week. Shame on me. It's mostly a throat thing. It is not COVID. I've done a couple of COVID tests, one before I went away last weekend, one when I got back. Nope, just something else. Still other stuff out there, right? Kirsten, great to see you. I didn't know if you would be on tonight. Cheers, my dears in Vermont. I know this looks very lame. It looks like water, and it is water, but I do have a wonderful cocktail coming. It is freeze. It's chilling right now. So I'm really looking forward to getting that. But for now, I thought let's do some water. Let's be moderate. But I'm really looking forward to having that drink. And I'll tell you all about it when I get it. All right, Linda B., great to see you. Happy weekend eve. Cheers, my dears, Fiber fans. Mom, great to see you. Happy cocktail night in Granby, Connecticut. Kaz, great to see you. Happy Friday in Wisconsin. I am feeling better. I feel great, actually. I feel fine. I really do. It was funny. It was a weird kind of a thing. That like my throat hurt for it was like one day of like the crazy chills, like the goosebumpy chills, like you're freezing, never going to be warm again, while your temperature is like 103 kind of thing. And that was a roughie. But that came and went like in a flash. And then it was like not good voice stuff. Like my voice wasn't strong. It's cracking, lots of blowing and stuff that would really interrupt a show. So, yeah. And the weirdest thing, the last sort of phase of this ailment, whatever it is, the doctor said, probably the flu. You should have gotten your flu shot. Yeah, no kidding. But, yeah, maybe the flu. But the last thing was like weird dizziness. Like, really weird. Like, it was almost like, I know people have far worse problems than me. Believe me, I do know. I am never sick. So this, like, really, tripped me up. But it was like you do something like this with your eyes, or I like to do this scary face and stand in the kid's doorway and kick the door open and do like something like this. Because for some reason it scares them. And I couldn't do it because like just looking up made my eyes really hurt in the sockets. Do you know what I mean? It was so strange. And this is the first day that's gone. Because I realized on Tuesday I went to run the class for the Cape Cod Guild, the Design Like Frost and Frost. God, that was a fun class. And while I was driving over there, I was thinking, I'm never going to be able to do this. I was so dizzy. I was clutching at things as I was climbing up the stairs into the studio, like there was like Vincent Price style, like just crazy. And I got into my seat and I was like holding on to the table, and then it just passed. And then I ran the program, which I thought was great. It went exactly the way I wanted it to. I felt great. And then as soon as I got in the car and drove again, it started up again, the crazy dizziness. And I thought, oh, I bet it's because my eyes are darting around and they're like, who cares? It's so boring. But what a weird thing. It was a weird jumble of a bunch of unpleasant things, like all strung together. Anyway, I hope that's gone. Wendy, great to see you. Happy Friday in Western Pennsylvania. Good to see you. Robin, great to see you too. Cheers, my dears, in Wisconsin. Kathy, great to see you. Hello. I got to see Kathy in person last weekend. Oh, was that fun? The live show. I forgot to say, last Friday we were doing the live show in New Hampshire, right? And yeah, a bunch of the buddies were there. It was super fun. Super fun chatting and catching up and eating those Cheetos and the mudslides. And Kathy brought me some of those monkey hooks in different sizes. So I've been playing with those. I got lots of treasures from the weekend. It was really fun. I love that New Hampshire Guild, I have to say, the White Mountain Wool and Magic. Everybody is so laid back, very laid back. I like that. I like that atmosphere. such talent, you know, like it's like a hotbed of talent. But at the same time, people are just don't seem like full of themselves, and everybody just seems super relaxed and friendly and accepting of each other, and it's just a great vibe. It's a really nice vibe. I loved seeing you, Kathy. I always love seeing you. Better, and you're busy. Hope you're feeling busy weekend here. Isn't the reason you're under well, you know, I'm sure. No, Kathy, that wasn't the reason I was under the weather. I've got germs somewhere. But, you know, I can be sick anywhere. You know, it's my kids are at school. I see a lot of people like busy all the time. I think I wear myself down, and that kind of lays you out to being more of a target for getting sick. And I might be guilty of that. Nothing to do with New Hampshire and my buddies in New Hampshire, I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure. And anyway, no matter what, I would do it over exactly the same way. I can handle being sick for a few days. It's good for me. Reminds me, right? It reminds me of how feeling normal is so great. It's like you forget, God, just let me feel normal for 5 minutes, you know. Sorry. Judy, great to see you. Happy weekend. I am. I'm feeling much better. Karen, great to see you and see you soon in person. 2 weeks from now, I think. Happy cocktail night to you too from cloudy Black Forest, Colorado with a glass of Pinot Grigio. Oh, I love it. Melissa, great to see you. Happy Friday night. Chrissy, happy Friday night. Thank you. I missed you all too. I really did. I have so many shows lined up. I have so much content. It was killing me. I was just afraid I was going to come on live and just be like hacking and disgusting. It's been a really long time, I have to say. Do you remember in the early shows, once in a while, someone would say something crappy or leave a crappy comment like, oh, I could hear you coughing in the background, and I was hoping you washed your hands before you put my order together, or something like that. And it would just be like, oh, I can't say just what I'm thinking, but I'm thinking it, you know. Hasn't been like that for a while. Thank goodness. Catherine, great to see you chilling with Hershey's chocolate chips. Oh, okay, I thought that was an alcohol thing. Chilling with Hershey's chocolate chips, fantastic, which are supposed to be for the Super Bowl. Oh dear, a little head start. Happy cocktail night. Southern Soil, cheers, my dears, in North Carolina. Great to see you. Huge welcome. Melanie, great to see you. Oh, you're not late. You are just on time. Beautiful sunny weather today in Western Washington. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Oh, I'm really glad. It's supposed to be very mild here this weekend too, like 40s, 50s. That's crazy. It's just February. But yeah, I'm losing faith that we might have one more little snowstorm and the opportunity to go sledding. Everything just goes by so fast, you know. Catherine, yeah, I'm way better. Just feel it. It was like in my body, like in my like bones, you know. It wasn't like just like it was really not much symptom wise, but it's just like in my bones. Very strange. Very, very strange. And I've been wearing my patch. Remember, I told you I went on that, just in case anyone's interested, the hormone patch. It's on me. The third one is on me. And I have to say, it's hard to tell, but it could be psychosomatic too. But I feel like I haven't had a massive, insane explosion or broken any furniture in the last week. So that's good. I mean, I might be a little bit down, you know, a little bit down energy wise with my illness, and that might be why. But let's hope it's because this thing is working and there's no more furniture that's going to die a sad death. Ryan, happy Friday, pizza night, peace and love to you too, sweetie. I'm happy that you're there. Joy, great to see you. Thank you so much. I missed you. Sharon, great to see you. Hello in sunny and chilly Vancouver. Oh, I bet. Judy says, thank you for the live show and letting us peek in. You know, I think oh, Jay, LOL, remember that one? Yeah. Oh, yeah. What do you mean that one singular? There's so many. Yeah, you know, I think Jay knows better than I did because he was recording the show for me when I was in New Hampshire, like we were recording it or attempting to. I don't think we got all of it down. And that can happen because it always depends on the signal. When the signal is really glitchy and crazy, it's just not worth it, you know. I feel like the content's too good to squander it. I'm full of myself. but to squander it putting out a show that you can't completely see. But it sounds like many of you at least saw part of the show, so that makes me happy. And Wendy asked the question in the Facebook group this week, about being able to see more of the show, and I can try again when I'm in Colorado to record more if it's okay with that guild. Moss Rose, great to see you. Happy Friday night in Kansas. And Kathy said sipping on a Dunkin'. Oh, those don't get me started. Those are so good, Kathy. The Dunkin' cold brew doctored up with some coffee brandy. Now, the cold brew, they have like the iced coffee, but now Dunkin' Donuts has two different sets. Well, coffee flavors and iced tea flavors that are like a bit boozy in the flavors that they have at the store. It's very good. It's on the sweet side if you like Bailey's, which I do, but for me, Bailey's is a little on the sweet side, usually. And this Dunkin' stuff is unbelievable. Like Dunkin' Donuts, it's unbelievable. Oh, Jay said it's recorded in two parts on my phone. Just missed the first 9 minutes. Okay, so quite a bit of it is there. So Wendy said, about seeing more, and I will try to record more and all of that stuff. But I also want to remind you all that I am right here, and I would love to come to your guild if I can get to it, if I can drive to it, if I can. I'm flying to Colorado, and I'm staying with my buddy Rebecca, Storyteller Wool. But I'm flying out there to do that one, and I'm happy to go a good ways away if it like fits in with my schedule, fits in, with what the kids need. And yeah, it's I'm always happy to go talk to a guild or historic society or something like that with an original program too. Like the one I did in New Hampshire was heavy Maud Lewis, and then I tacked a couple other naive female artists at the end, Magdalena Briner Eby and Grandma Mo, just for variety to fluff it out a little bit. But I'm always happy to put together an original program like that I haven't done before and is different. And I never charge any different to do that. So yeah, so always think about that as a possibility, because I would love, if I can't come to you, I will come to you. And I have a lot of travel this year, so it's always worth asking. All right, let's go. This show was great, and Saturday was even better. Saturday it was really fun. I have to say, I loved being in. I love being in New Hampshire. I love being with that guild. It was just a great group. It was such a great vibe. There were a lot of buddies who came who I hadn't met yet, and I was real happy to see and meet for the first time. Yeah, it was a big group too, Kathy, wasn't it? It was a quite big group. It was at least, I would think, in the mid 60s, which is great. That's great. That's a busy guild, and that is fantastic. I really, really enjoyed myself. I really did. Oh, Catherine, great to see you. Still raining in Southern California. Oh, man. Hopefully it's a nice weekend, though, right? Well, I really wanted to get back to you know who. I chose this kind of background from public domain, like a picture in stock, because I thought it went really well with Sadie's mom's composition book. So if you didn't catch the first, I think we've only done one episode on this so far. I think it was a cocktail night as well. We'll do where we kind of left off. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, I was very excited to find this beautiful old composition book on eBay. This was quite a while back. And on top of it, it says Old Hooked Rug and Quilt Designs. And it's an old composition book with a little decoupage cover of a sweet country cottage. And on the inside, our only clue thus far was the inscription, which says, "To my dear mother, with best wishes for a happy birthday, 1932. Lovingly, Sadie." So that's why we keep referring to this incredible scrapbook that she made as Sadie's mom's scrapbook, because Sadie's mom taped, and this is what we're going to be looking at tonight, as many images of rugs as she could find into the pages of this book, like painstakingly. I can just picture the scissors that she used to do this. And do you remember at the beginning how she was typing up, and she was definitely typing up long passages, probably from a book. I keep forgetting to check my books and see what, 125, Kathy, it wasn't 125 people, was it? Was it? I mean, I'm bad with numbers. I just looked out and saw every table full and then some. That would be crazy. That's exciting though. Um, you know, I think she was typing stuff, copying it from a book, probably a library book, you know, and lots of typos in the typing. And it's like, I feel like, you know, TV detective, been watching a little bit too much Matlock, I think, but you can see that where the typewriter has issues with certain letters and stuff. So I can tell that from one entry to the next, these heavy typed passages that she did, she's on the same typewriter. And I wondered if she was maybe doing it at work. Ooh, you know, I mean, so cute. But I have been baffled so far as to, I've been picturing Sadie's mom a lot, right? Because this is so Roma, 62. Yeah, something like that. It's got to be, right? Because that 100 and something would be crazy. It was crazy. It was packed. And I was very flattered. I felt like the Beatles when they landed in New York, you know, before like the Hollywood Bowl concert, because it was like there was people waiting at the door and stuff. And I was trying to get my stuff set up, and I didn't want to make eye contact with a lot of people. I know that sounds awful, but I just wanted to be sure my computer was set to do the slideshow, and I was afraid if I looked up and started engaging and visiting and stuff that I wouldn't be done in time. So I kept my head kind of down, and then when I did look up, it was like, whoa, you know. Oh, oh, I heard footsteps in the hall. I thought that was my beverage. So, have you all been, as we talk about Sadie's mom's notebook, have you all been, rem- oh, that's not my, oh, very nice. Teddy's getting a nice sort of Mexican meal tonight. We'll see if he eats it. Oh, Teddy is so picky with stuff. Have you all been romanticizing about what Sadie's mom looked like and like what her life was like 1932, what her house was like, stuff like that? Have you had any of those moments? Because I have done a little bit of that in bed, kind of staring at the ceiling and thinking about Sadie's mom, thinking about Sadie, thinking about, you know, Sadie's mom sitting there with her scissors and clipping all this stuff out of catalogs as they come, pages of magazines, you know, decorating magazines where we've seen one nice black and white photo. I'm leading up to something. Well, I went through, I imagine that Sadie's mom never thought her notebook would be on YouTube, right? Isn't that crazy? I can ratchet up the crazy with something incredible right now. Are you ready? Was it 60 years today, Karen, that the Beatles first appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show? That was today, was it? I'm trying to think of the words to Sergeant Pepper now. It was da 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 da. It was how many? What's that number? It was 20 years. 20, isn't it, for the Sergeant Pepper song? It was 20 years ago today. Yeah. Okay. But 60 is the number for Ed Sullivan. That's crazy. That's crazy. To this day, no one can ever be more adorable than Paul McCartney when he appeared that day. Such a cute angel face, right? Still the cute angel face. Well, I was looking at this book and I got some information about Sadie's mom. Isn't that crazy? Um, I was going through it, and you know, I don't like to go too far into the content without you because I think it's more fun when we look at stuff together and it's more spontaneous and just more exciting for me that way. But I had to photograph ahead for tonight's show, and I found this that I will show you later. I will show you this close up later, but guess what? This was in Sadie's mom's notebook, and I'll show you the whole document as, yeah, you know, as it comes up in order in the episode. But it's the article is about Concord Worsted Mills in Concord, New Hampshire, and the subject is hook drugs. So we'll look at this in due time. But in the corner, there's an address, and you know, it's on a little licky sticker. I have no reason to doubt that it is legit. I hope it's legit because it brought me to a house because I have a street address. So I won't read out the street address, but first tell me, where were you imagining that Sadie's mom lived? Because for me, I was imagining like either New England, like on some remote lake, like on Golden Pond, maybe Michigan, like something really rural on a pond in the woods, where all around her she had this long, rich history of hooking rugs. I'm going to show you where Sadie's mom lived. Now, this is where this address is. And this address is in, I know there's a long delay here. Sharon, I came across this scrapbook on eBay. I found it on eBay. And it was a buy it now. So it was a buy it now or a bid. And I just bought it now because I was really scared I was going to lose it. And there was only a few pages photographed. And there's probably 40 pages in here. Oh, good. It's Buttons the dog invading. And I had to have it because I knew we would use it. I knew we would use it this way. So, Sadie's mom's house is in San Diego, California. Isn't that unexpected? I'm going to show you a picture of it. Now, this is a picture of it now on Zillow. This is not a picture of it, obviously in 1932, but this is the only picture. You can see listings for things on Zillow and other real estate websites, even if the house is not currently active in terms of being for sale. So come over here with me, and we're going to start over here again because that's where we left off, but got to show you the house. Isn't that surprising? Now, it's a bungalow style house. So the house is now worth about, I think it said 1,140 something thousand, right? Way out of my budget. And I'm perfectly happy planted in New England, but it really surprised me. It does look like a bungalow house, and I think it does go back to that time period. So I have no reason to think that Sadie's mom didn't actually live in a house that looked quite. Oh, really, Catherine? You're right next to San Diego County. Oh, how fun! How fun! I was going to shout out, I'm not going to shout out the address because that would be maybe an invasion. You can see the street address for this, and it is online. I mean, houses are online. But it is pretty, isn't it? It has that old time, craftsman look, right, Karen? That old kind of Hollywood look, doesn't it? Like all of these petite houses that are so chic. This could definitely have been there in 1932, without a doubt. I would be surprised if it wasn't, right? Just judging from the field stone on the outside of it, and like the fluted porch, right? Porch, columns, balustrades, columns. My brain is not working. That's the last vestige. Anita, great to see you. Happy Friday. But I thought, I'm sure it looks very, very different from the outside, but I think it was probably a very humble looking bungalow back in the day. And I grabbed a couple of pictures from the inside because they are online, just to give you a feel. Obviously, I'm guessing the floor plan was much more closed, which is exactly how I like it personally. But this is a more open floor plan, but you do see elements that maybe Sadie's mom did see, like probably the same cut of window, probably the same big wide wooden door, and all those lovely planks. Right, that's probably all original to the house. And stuff that Sadie's mom was walking back and forth across those planks while she was finding her catalogs were arriving in the mail, and she was cutting them up maybe in this kitchen. This kitchen looks maybe like it might be 40s, 50s, but you never know. I can just kind of picture her walking around this little area looking for her next great haul, the next great catalog to arrive that would, or little newsletter, something from the Concord Worsted Mills that they sent out that functioned as a little catalog, waiting for the next one to arrive so she could take out this exact composition book and open it to the next clear page, take out her scissors and her glue, and man, was she particular about the way that she put all these little images in. Just, sorry, just gorgeous. So I thought that was fun to find that because I was surprised. I pictured a very remote country life and, this kind of, I don't want to say obsession, but this absolute passion for rugs of all kinds. And then to find out she was in San Diego in that kind of a neighborhood, very new, very modern, in a then modern house, is interesting to think about, isn't it? Because now I'm thinking, gosh, I bet like a lot of Californians, she was from somewhere else, and I bet she moved there and missed the rugs, right? Because California, particularly at this time, definitely at this time, now there's guilds and stuff, but there is not a great culture historically of there being lots of rugging in California, right? Maybe the Butlers are like the exception to that, but remember Alice Butler, she didn't know other ruggers when she moved to California, and that was about the same time. So I thought that was interesting that she was probably super homesick for somewhere else, and just loving getting her catalogs from the East Coast, like Concord. So, good. I thought that was a fun find. And all right, let's look at some of the rugs. Oops, wait a minute, wrong window. Nope, sorry about that. Let's come back over here to the rug that we shut the door. Teddy's dropping. He's got the dropsies. This is the last one that we left on, and we read the poem. This was a while back, The Revolutionary Hooked Rug. I hope you caught that episode. It's also got the tags Sadie's mom's notebook in it. But this was the last image that I think we looked at together. So that brings us to, oh. Is that my drink? Oh, givey. Oh, thank you. Cheers. Oh, this is a, what was this from? Cologne, Germany. Mugs from the German Christmas market that when you put them together, they form, I don't want to spill it, the gate of, oh, this is going to be hot, isn't it? The gate of Cologne. Oh my God. Okay, well done. So I have to tell you about this recipe now that my beverage has arrived, and I have to give a huge shout out for this. Wait till you hear this. This is insane. Okay, so Christine came this weekend to the New Hampshire Guild, and she brought me a beautiful bottle of wine, local to where she lives, and not Cologne, right? I think it was like Maine. And she brought this beautiful note for me where she says, here, let me read it too. It's so sweet. She said, Dion, and we got to spend some time chatting and stuff. It's so nice to meet people who I know from online, right? But not really in person, but now I do. And she wrote, Deanna, I have spent many happy hours watching your YouTube channel. Thank you for sharing your time and talent. I have learned so much about rug hooking from you. I am a beginner and am inspired by your segments. I look forward to coffee time and cocktail time and getting to know you. You are like a friend visiting. Oh my God, that almost made me cry. I have enclosed a recipe for the Magpie Times. Remember, we need recipes for the recipe section. If you would like to use it, Christine, I am going to use it. It seems perfect for cocktail time and comes from the Herb Companion, no longer in print, 1993. I hope you enjoy the wine. It is from a vineyard near my home. Oh, so good. So I won't give you the full recipe, but I had to run out right before the show because I didn't have everything I needed to go in here, like cloves, rosemary, orange, and honey. But it is like a hot wine, but it's very like springy, summery tasting. Has an herb taste, but not like a medicine taste. It's a super full blast honey flower taste. It's actually perfect for someone who's getting over a cold. Oh yeah, that's really good. That recipe is going to go into Magpie Times for sure. I ran to the grocery store to get the last bits and pieces, Christine, right before the show because I felt fine and I felt like it was an easy thing for me to do. But I just wanted you to know how much I appreciate you giving me the wine, the recipe, that sweet card. And I know how I feel when I make something for someone I care about, like food or a drink or something. I really like to see their face while they're eating it or drinking it. Do you know what I mean? I like to see the expression on their face. So I just wanted to be sure. It was worth running out to get some stuff because I wanted to be sure that you saw me go like this. I sincerely love it. It is fantastic, and thank you so much. That was super kind. And Judy made the comment. Judy, good to see you. Judy said, interesting that you call them ruggers and not hookers. Is that a newer term? No, that's an older term. Ruggers, thrummers, some of those older terms I think are there to not have to say the word hookers. But yeah, it's really a regional thing, and from group by group, it's a different thing. My favorite expression is ruggers because to me, it's like a little bit rugged, rugby, stuff like that. I don't like those connotations that you can't help but have right there. But I'm also not a huge fan of hookers, not just because of the sex hookers. I sound so uptight, sex hookers, but just because it always, when people don't know that the joke is there, and I get fairly tired of the joke. So yeah, I love ruggers. Sooner or later, we're all going to decide what word to use and go for it, I think. So the next area that we came up to, oh, I did it again. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Is this. So this is the next page that I'm looking at too. It's a double. And on one side, you can see that Sadie's mom cut it. And by the way, her name is not on that newsletter that came to our house. It says Mrs. T.W. Williams. So it's a T. That doesn't really help us. I was thinking, is Sadie short for something else? Might she be named after her mom? But I don't think it is it? Rug artists. I like that too. I like that too. It's hard, isn't it? It's a tough one. That for me, the word rug is the problem because it makes people think all we do is make rugs, and we make quite small pieces too, like wall hangings. Yeah, I like hooked tapestry, but that doesn't really flow either, does it? Well, Sadie's mom split this page up by cutting it very artistically. You can see she did like the Art Deco sort of emerald cut of that little picture right around the edge of it. And she separated the top and the bottom. So let's look at this together because she clipped, in this case, this article. And this article says, and again, I have no idea where she's getting these articles from. It was in a periodical where it was continued on page number 492. So that is a heck of a magazine. I mean, this was not a catalog, right, at 492 pages, unless it was the Sears catalog, which I'm sure it wasn't. It must have been some kind of architectural magazine, but man, what a tome that thing was. Yeah, Judy says in the 30s, ladies used their husband's name instead of their own first name. Yeah, that goes right up through. We still see that in like the 50s when I'm trying to research ruggers and stuff. I'm still seeing that, Mrs. Harry David. Yeah, it's just, I'm glad that has changed, I have to say. I'm not much of a feminist, but I'm very glad that has changed. So this article says, the home-like beauty of old hooked rugs. Carefully selected, these rugs are suitable for any type of house or any style of furnishings. And this is by Anna Lays Phillips. Now, where do I know that name? Oh my God. You know where I know that name? Ooh. I'm going to have to check. I won't check while we're on camera. Anna Lays Phillips. I think that name is associated with the historic house in Fairfield, Connecticut. What's it called? Come on. We had a hook in there a couple of years ago. Beautiful historic house. Farmington, Connecticut. In Farmington, Connecticut. Historic house, Farmington, Connecticut. I'm not going to go the whole way with it. Come on. It's showing me stuff for sale. I'll have to research it again. There's a beautiful historic house there that always has a festival. My mom volunteers at the festival. Remember, Mom, you've volunteered at the summer festival or the fall festival or something. You know, the one in Farmington. I'm sure that name is associated there because I remember when we went, I was there with my buddy Liz, and we had like a hook in. And then we were talking to the person who was in charge of the textile. Hillstead, that's it, Mom, the Hillstead Museum. No, I love Beauport too, Catherine. Yeah, no, the Hillstead Museum in Farmington. I'm 90%, more than 90% sure, because I remember her taking out rugs and talking about, I'm sure it was Anna Lays Phillips, and because she also wrote a book on rugs that we've looked at on Coffee Time. Ding dong, I should have had a V8. I'm sure it's the same person. How crazy is that? So this could actually be an excerpt from the book, just as easily an advertisement, because I know she did a hardcover book on rugs. long years ago, when our country, oh boy, this is going to be historically incorrect, right? But that's okay. Let's look at it anyway. Long years ago, when our country was so very new, hooked rugs came into being. Well, we know that's not the case. We know it's like we can date hooked rugs to the 1860s, and everything before that was done with a needle. Whether this or loom, whether this time, whether this was a native industry born of the needs and necessities of that day, or a fashion brought to our shores by sailors who, to pass the hours on shipboard, hooked strips of old cloth into a heavy bag foundation, may never be known. It is safe, however, to consider the making of these rugs as a purely American craft, along with the pieced quilts, neither of which have ever been made to any degree nor been valued in other lands. Well, I'm going to say that's not true. And it's also not clear at all whether rug hooking originated in northern New England or Canada. So at this point, the scholarship is very clear on that. We don't know which it is. So we can claim it as a North American craft for sure, but not necessarily as an American craft. Nor should we, because we just don't know. To the women of early America, the hooked rug meant many things. Service and warmth, first of all, economy as well, and last but far from very least, they meant beauty and color and a means of satisfying the hunger for this in the hearts of those women whose lives were so devoid of either. I don't know if I like this article. I don't know if I can keep going. This it has a, I don't want to say obnoxious. There's a little bit of a patronizing air happening here. I don't know that women in early America were devoid of color or interest. I think they probably had a way more lively lifestyle than I could handle, and probably lots of love and beauty as well, I'm thinking. There are a lot of diaries from that period. And now we have discovered this beauty for ourselves, and not only are we buying old hooked rugs, but we are also making them. Some of our largest rug manufacturers are reproducing these early American designs in their own lovely fabrics. The elements of design, quality, and texture enter into the question of where a hooked rug should be placed. When these are harmonious with the setting, a hooked rug is just as appropriate in a room with Italian, French, or other foreign sentiment as in a strictly American setting. Why not? I'm gonna make a departure from this. It's very sweet. It's very quaint. This article is obviously very much of its time and with the voice of its time. I don't really like it though. Karen says Anna Phillips wrote a large book called Hooked Rugs and How to Make Them. Thank you. Currently on Karen, thank you so much, on eBay for $89. If you're interested, we have covered that book on Coffee Time, and there is a lot to be said for it, right? I'm going to say, Anna, again, this is like an upper class family, right? So interested in history and all good stuff, but the upper class voice is very strong, isn't it? So I remember that as being a book that, in terms of being a historical feather in your cap to own in a hooked rug collection, it's a must have. But also check, it's not going to have new information, new tips, or great photographs for inspiration. It's a question of reading it, feeling part of that time, right? Feeling her voice, which I'm sure does become very endearing. I'm sure. Of course it does, right? Of course it does. It's just very different. You know, we're talking about 1930s to now, so we're almost 100 years have elapsed since she wrote this article. I've covered a lot of books on this show, but I would say if you're looking for that book to complete your collection, make sure you also check on like Abe Books. You know how you can do Google and search for the title of a book and then hit the shopping, and it brings you to all the copies that are for sale? Just be careful on sites that you've never heard of before. There's so much scamming happening right now. It is a beautiful book. Maybe we'll look at it again. You know, just pull it off the shelf just to have a nice old look through it. Right behind you, Karen. Oh, right. Just checking on eBay. Yep. How fun is that, huh? It's so fun to find this stuff. That's a big price ticket. 1924. Karen, thank you. So that is way earlier. That is 101. Wait a minute. Is it 2024? It's 2024. I'm telling you know, I'm going to claim that I have some brain damage after this ailment. It's 100 years old, this book. So, right, so the Beatles 60 years today. This book 100 years old. It's an older book for sure. Oh, okay. Yep. Oh, you're all looking it up. That's great. It's in the Smithsonian collection as well. Downloadable. Interesting. Yeah, it's just great to have these because it's like maybe I've been watching a few too many Hallmark movies, and particularly The Way Home, which is like one of the best things I've ever seen. But it's a time travel thing, and the reason I'm loving that show so much, I think, is because it really speaks to my love of connecting to the past, and just the idea of having something in your hands that's when it's from, and it's quite a long time ago. That's something special. That's something that Kindle can never take away. So it is fun to hunt down those books. They are finite. They are finite. And once they're gone, they're gone. You know, as quickly as you can buy them up, there are people throwing them away because they have damage, or they smell moldy, or they've been in the attic or the basement too long. It's really scary because we all want copies of all of those early rug books. That's very, very early, too. That's very early. So let's look at the other photograph in on this specific page. And God, is this gorgeous or what? Look at this beautiful hearth. Over on the left, you can see, what do they call those chairs? It's like a double, I think it's attached. It's like a bench. That's not a deacon bench. What is that called when there's like two, like Windsor type chairs attached to each other like a bench? There's a special name for that. And behind it, there's like the settee kind of a thing, the high back. Do you see what I mean with that pretty kind of loose draped upholstered thing over it? It's probably a much older piece. And they put a piece of fabric over it that's like 1920s, 1930s print because it's light and pastel looking, right? You wouldn't necessarily want all of like your old antique furniture color wise to be part of your room if this is a decorating magazine. Looks like they threw a coverlet over there that doesn't, on top of it, that doesn't fit super well, but only part of it is pictured. And there's a beautiful, what looks like round braided chair seat that's been transformed into a cushion. Now we often see the round hooked rugs transformed into cushions, but have you often seen the round braided rugs, which are at least as common, made into a pillow? I mean, isn't that fantastic? And right here we have in front of the hearth, there's a small stool that looks fairly new. And then there's a pretty rug there with a tree and a couple of houses that looks really familiar. I didn't realize that design was that old. I've seen that design before, and to be honest, I thought that was like an 80s design. It's older. To the right of that, hidden behind the chair, there's some kind of a Victorian bamboo, right? Bamboo looking. It's like framed with what look like pieces of bamboo rather than scrolls, mostly hidden behind that chair. And go all the way with your eye to the right next to the spinning wheel. You see that there is another rug back there that's quite primitive, with lots of simple scrolls that almost look like Greek bracelets. They're so simple, just a little swirl, a little curly cue. And then the corner of another rug in front of there that we can't see at all. And then under the table, beautiful white rug. I don't know if that's the right one for under the table. That's not really a dining table though, is it? It's like a table that you'd put your books and your ashtray on. But a pretty white rug, very simple undersized flower spray with one flower in the center under there. Little underwhelming as a design, but I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it nonetheless. And then over to the left, close to us, pretty bouquet, fairly unusual, I have to say, for this time. Very primitive looking, oversized flowers, all that to be expected. There's a couple other things happening there. Do you notice under this is the rug on the bottom left, and it is facing us sideways. Under that pot, like the flower pot, there are two lines going down, almost like the reiteration of that simple line that serves as the diagonal tipped border. That's unusual. Instead of just having the vessel floating in space, they've brought the lines right down to the bottom. And even more unusual are the stars. I see 6 stars in that. That's quite unusual, isn't it? You don't see a lot of stars in early 20th century stuff. We tend to see more stars. We see it in Magdalena stuff, but you don't generally see it. It's odd to find it in Magdalena's work, but you don't generally see it. And then we don't really see it again until we hit the 20th century, and we are looking at a lot of patriotic designs. So unexpected, beautiful entry. And let's move on. I'm looking at the next page now. Oh wow! So that last page, that was like cuckoo, wasn't it? How many rugs were down on the floor? This looks like the more formal booth room, and we do have a nice booth here. It's like a settle, isn't it? Up against the wall. Something you'd find in like an old tavern or something. Beautiful French doors. What a gorgeous room. Oh, it does have that really 1920s, 30s decorating aesthetic, though, doesn't it? In a good way. I love this aesthetic. It's very, very, well, like colonial revival, isn't it? That's what it is. With the spinning wheel, right? All of these sorts of hat tips to America being a new country, right? This was a big thing during the colonial revival movement, which was a architecture and decoration movement, in the early 20th century. People getting all excited about where we came from and our roots and our oral history and everything that we'd done thus far. And people started to celebrate Americans by accidentally reinventing history. And really, the photographer Wallace Nutting is the most to blame for that, because Wallace Nutting started showing us, famously showing us, decorated rooms, photography that he was doing, women dressed up as if it were, colonial settlement days, in costumes, obviously. And, he was hand coloring all of the photos that he did, and he was very, very popular. And he had a lot of people working under him, and then he had a lot of people competing with him. Same exact type of thing. He'd go from house to house, right? He'd find houses that were quite old, and he would create sets, where he'd put things there, like braided rugs, right? Like tons of braided rugs, occasionally hooked rugs, which wouldn't have been there during that period. Lots of pottery and glassware and stuff that wasn't period correct, but it gave people years later the impression that the things in these photographs were colonial era things that he had collected and was showing us, and they really weren't. In terms of accuracy, he was, sorry, my lips are so dry, incredibly inaccurate. Were the photographs beautiful? They were gorgeous. I love them too. Were they misleading? Accidentally. They were really misleading. So when we think about the colonialists, the colonial revival period in the United States, we think of a lot of historical problems and context problems, because there's a lot of misinformation that sprouted up as a result of that moment in decoration. Did it again. I'm so sorry. I got to get rid of that slide, huh? So this is a lovely living room done very much in that style. And this is just what I mean, creating a vignette that is really lovely, but the spinning, the spinning wheel, it looks like there's some Staffordshire, and there are, to be fair, there's some brass candlesticks on the mantle. That's perfectly appropriate. Some of the furniture is quite old. The spinning wheel is quite old, but the hooked rugs were not from this period. But it's just, who cares, right? It's all about the look. And we are seeing in the photograph, in the scene, some really beautiful hooked rugs. The one on the bottom left, I think we're going to see that later, if not a pretty similar rug. That looks to me like a hearth-sized rug, meaning very, very wide, right? Just as thin as any other, but extra wide to fit and stretch across a wide hearth. Now, this isn't a particularly wide hearth, right? This is not like a cooking hearth, right? This isn't an early American house. This is like a 1920s house, probably a colonial or a Dutch colonial, something like that, But beautiful, beautiful rugs down, and particularly the one on the right. is smaller and very lush. It's hard to tell what's going on there, but there is a true profusion of crazy flowers. It is just stunning. And then Sadie's mom has even cut out 3 small images to put under this. Everything in black and white matches, right? We don't know what color these things really were, but just beautiful images. I have to say, Sadie's mom herself had a great feel for design. You know, just the way she puts her things together in this scrapbook. She's got a great sense of balance. She even, can you see, she even glues them in perfectly inside the lines so they're like equidistant. Like the sweetness is off the charts. The sweetness factor is just incredible. It hurts to look at these. It's like, it's so sweet. It makes my heart hurt. I just wish that I could reach across time or jump into some pond and find my way to Sadie's mom, because she, I would love to be sitting with her while she was working on this project, right? Doesn't get much cuter than that. And a couple more images that she clipped out of a magazine, I think. Let me just make sure I didn't. Oh, I did. I put them in individually. I'm going to take one more sip. Hang on. Christina's recipes over the top. Gosh, what a beautiful house this is. Has a bit of a cabin feel to it. Or more, no, not cabin. Not that rustic. Like a manor type feel, right? All that woodwork, all the sort of wooden wainscoting or whatever it is, and then the buttressing of the ceiling. Kind of crazy. Really. More masculine, right? So they're showing us a more masculine room, and we still see, holy mackerel, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 distinct rugs in this room as well. Some pewter plates on the mantle. The mantle looks well used, right? You can see the fire and the smoke. There are a couple of lamps in this room that have a bit more of a feminine flair, matching bird cages hanging. But in general, it is a more masculine room. And I think one of the things that they did design-wise in decorating this room was to drop in rugs that were very dark, had a very dark ground. So whether it's black, brown, whatever, navy, these are all dark background rugs, which maybe reads as like a more manly rug. Looks very European. It does. You're right, Karen. It really does. Yeah, it's a little bit of like all worlds. Oh, another bird cage too. Like they're showing, some of the early American stuff, like the pewter plates, and then the hooked rugs, then thought to be early American. But they are showing us some really rugged furniture. What a great setup. Seems weirdly absent of a coffee table, but I guess they wanted to show us as many rugs as possible. Beautiful designs, more geometric, less floral. You see what the thought process would be with these here. It's like, okay, that one's got some ferns and a scroll. That's great for a man. This one's got some grapes and some scrolls. Also great for a man. So it does seem to me that in rooms that are shared company rooms, or rooms that are more meant for the man rather than the distaff side, then they are making decisions, at least in decorating magazines and architectural magazines, to help the woman at home navigate and say, okay, this is appropriate for a room that my husband sits in every night or not. I have to say, I think this is my favorite room so far, with these big wooden, the big wide planks. This is a nice early American look, isn't it? With the woodwork, the little secret cabinets above the mantle. Isn't it funny that there are absolutely no rugs on the walls at this point in time, the 1920s, 1930s? Because it looks to me like over the fireplace that is crying out for a beautiful rug. See the candle box, right? Little bits and pieces, the secretary. We've got, I think we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 rugs in view. 5 if there's one pushed up in front of the mantle. I think there is. But we can really only see 2. And the one that's in the middle of the room, I think there are 2 rugs in front of the mantle, but the one that we can see appears to have some big fat flowers, which are really lovely, and a very, what must be gorgeous, very primitive, geometric, just stripies after stripies, filling out a very simple composition with just maybe 3 or 4 flowers. And then closer to us, more of a wildflower, like a scatter pattern. So it doesn't look like a commercial pattern because it's quite disorganized, isn't it? The one that's closest to us on the bottom right, but it is just lovely. Look at that nice porcelain doorknob. and nice tall boy. They've got some beautiful things in this room too. But that's a beautiful rug. It's really colorful, cheerful, what we would say gay, right, in the 1920s, 1930s. What a gay rug. Beautiful, happy colors, right? It's probably really, really cheery pinks, reds, greens, blues, and all of that colorful striping around the border. Also gorgeous, just gorgeous. This reminds me of the set of the great movie Christmas in Connecticut, right? You could easily see them using everything in here, including that cushy armchair. Um, Karen says, in the man cave, why would there have been a rug on the floor on the back side of the right couch? I know, that was crazy on the heater. You know, I noticed that too. That's right next to the radiator. Is so crazy. But you know, I don't think the rugs really were there. I think they put as many rugs down for the photo shoot as possible. They're probably like, I need me some more rugs. You know, like more cowbell, more rugs. And I think they just put them everywhere so that they would all be present and make it look like limitless, you know, sea of rugs. I can't imagine there would be that many rugs on anybody's floor. I mean, just it's crazy, crazy numbers in one shot. That is so good. All right, let's go to the next and let's see what we can see. It's fun to peek into other people's rooms, isn't it? So this is the next spread, and we're going to look probably at both pages, but beautiful bedroom on the left, and then we've got some single rugs that Sadie's mom chose on the right. Let me see. Okay, so I skipped the bedroom rugs. It's just a couple, one oval and one rectangular. Ooh, I didn't realize I did that. Hang on. Nope, still good. Um, so this is on the other page, the following page, conventional. So this must be from a catalog because one of these is called conventional and the next one is called geometric. And you can see the one that's conventional has a bit of an Eastern feel to it. Not a prayer rug because it's two-sided. It seems to be a bit of, design-wise being inspired by Eastern motifs, but kind of willy-nilly not knowing what they mean or what they symbolize, just kind of going, okay. They didn't have, obviously, the game Trivial Pursuit yet, but that top rug, you can see the main motif in the background is like the pieces of pie inside the Trivial Pursuit, little pie mover things. Yeah, I think they were kind of imagining up designs that seemed very exotic, and those would have then fallen under the category of conventional. So not feminine, right? You can't assign a gender to a rug like that. Has more of a mosaic look. It's a truly lovely rug. Two definite borders. It is a repeat design. Actually, three if you count the one in the middle, four if you count the solid border around the edge. And then the tip diagonal design is quite smart. The cropping of it is quite smart too. It is a lot of fanfare for those three doodles in the middle, like the four petals. It is a lot of fanfare to eventually arrive at the center and just see those. For me, I would have preferred to have seen something with more of a field and more decoration. But it's very different, and again, I think at this time people understood that things that were from the Far East were desirable, exotic, and interesting. And they wanted to kind of capitalize and borrow on that kind of lore, but they didn't know what the symbols were. So they were just kind of cobbling together things that looked foreign. And this looks foreign. I think that when you get to the center, it's not super authentic anymore, but it is charming. And it is a moment in time, isn't it? That's the thing. The one right below it, geometric. So that is made up of single squares and half squares. So almost like a quilt pattern, where you do like a one patch, right? Everything's a one patch, and then you get to the edges and you get what is often called the sawtooth pattern, where the one patch is split in half diagonally, and then you've got two triangles. So, so that's very, very common for both quilters and rug makers at this time too, because you don't need a pattern for this, right? You just would need to count or hook straight across the grain. You can eyeball it and get pretty close with your design. looks, again, very strong mosaic feel to it, but that's because of all of the tiny little postage stamp pieces. Kathy says the top one looks like Frost Small Oriental. Ooh, interesting. I think his is better. Let me just check. I know we've seen that one recently, right, Kathy? Frosts, and let me do Edward Sands. Hold on, let me just type this in case we can get something. Edward Sands, Frost, Small Oriental. Yep. Okay, wait a minute. I'm not sure that is it. I think it might be. Let me show you what I pulled up. No, that can't be it. No, that's not it. It's too many flowers. I'm going to have to check that again. My brain isn't working well enough to be able to picture it. Kathy, somebody in your guild did it, right? You didn't do it, right, Kathy? Somebody in your guild for the Deerfield Fair had done, at least one person had done the small Oriental, right? I'm trying to think of who it was. Interesting. Interesting. All right. I love making these connections. So, I mean, it could be. It could be. My memory of the image of that rug is not strong enough to say it's not. It is a beautiful rug. We might end up coming back there with more info. Kathy, you did. You did. Kathy, did it have those little doodlers in the middle, the 4 doodlers, rather than like a motif in the middle? I know there's a long, sorry, I wasn't spacing out. I was just trying to picture it. I'm trying to picture it because I remember we looked at it because I had seen it recently because someone else had done it recently too. Not, I don't think in your guild. Because when I saw yours, I thought, oh, no way. That's funny because it's a beautiful old pattern. It's nice that people are doing those beautiful old patterns. Interesting. We might have to come back to that because I'd like to talk about that some more. Um, in the Frost and Frost class I did on Monday for the Cape Cod Guild, God, it was so fun to run it. And because it was in a bridge, it was an hour. Like, so I knew I would be presenting for like an hour. And so I cut the class hugely. And I think I used 5 poems from the original Design Light class. But I also added an intro about the history of stencils and very, like 2 slides, very fast. I thought really interesting stuff. And a little bit on Edward Sands Frost and Robert Frost. Similar but not exact. Okay. Interesting. But yeah, it got me thinking and talking about Frost more. That's another talk that I would like to do more often in person and to look at slides together and get conversations fired up in person. It really was great for a presentation too. It was very fun. Melissa says, I love that semicircle cat rug that is coming up. Oh, it's good, isn't it? It's good. Yeah, let's check that out. That's a cutie patootie. So the cat welcome rug. And it just says copy of a very old rug. Oh, I believe it. Um, yeah, because of course pets and things are, this is going to be one of the most common motifs way back when. So heartstrings, right? Pulls on the heartstrings. This rug will give your home just that touch of quaintness no one likes to overdo, but which yet overdo, but which yet helps to make the house a home. The naivete of the first designers and the charm of the old colors have been perfectly caught by our workers. The cats are in grayish white, shading into darker gray. Background is black. Other colors in flowers and border are varied to suit any desired color scheme. It is a lovely old rug. The striping, it's like it's very close to being distracting, but it's not because it's such a bare background. It's like the cats are sitting on a rug, right? The cats are sitting on a cute braided rug. It also looks to me like there is some I'm not going to say tufting, right? Because that's going to be confusing. Tufting is something different for us now. But I think there are some height differences. I think this is a punched rug, right? Some of it looks Waldeboro and really three-dimensional. I think there's some height differences. And remember, some of those old punch tools were adjustable back in the day. That's not something new. And I think that they have gone very high pile clipped with, for example, the welcome and the flowers. And I think the background is very low pile. And I think the border is high pile again. So I think this was probably a great ad for one of the tools that was an adjustable punch. The shaft would adjust, so you could get different heights. Of course, if you were going for a higher height, a taller pile, you could clip it, particularly if it was dense, right? Densely done. This is just kind of a standalone picture that she's got. Let me make it a little bit, I'm going to unlock it, make it a little bit larger. Just looking over, gosh, what a pretty house this must be. It's like, hold on, let me concentrate for a second. No, why is it doing that? Why? Why, you snickerdoodle? Oh, because I clicked the wrong picture, yep. There she goes. All right, hang on, I'm still working on it. I think there's only been one or two houses in my life that I've seen that you kind of approach behind a little, what do you want to call this, with the little interior fence, you know what I mean? Like a railing, but it's not high up. It doesn't look high up, does it? It looks like it's only one or two steps. Like maybe you're going into a sunken, God, this house must be so charming. Maybe you're going into a sunken living room or something. Can you imagine? Wouldn't you just love a house like this? You're kind of approaching from the kitchen or the hall, and then you probably walk down 2 or 3 steps, and you're in this little sunken room with a place to write, some comfortable places to sit, and some beautiful rugs on the floor. Oh, come on. Too good. How do some people have it so good, right? Pretty trash can, too. Do you see that pretty trash can with like the decal of the flower print? So 2 really lovely rugs here. We're seeing a really exciting geometric. And then we're seeing something that has kind of fern corners on it. We can't see much of that. That's the only hint that we're getting. But the geometric is very pretty. I can see that there's a big motif in the center, like a tipped square. And then lots of little bits and pieces, squares done in hit or miss style around it. You see what I mean? What a charming thing. Oh, funny that the, probably can't see it here and I locked it again, but there is a sprinkler on the ceiling. Interesting. Okay, let me take one more sip. Hang on. So this is sweet. Let's look over on the left-hand side. Let me see if I broke this up into 2 pages. Yep, I did. So over on the left-hand side, you saw how it was the 2 pages. This says, the Rose Garden set, adapted by our workers from established designs. These are exquisite rugs with backgrounds in tan and borders in black, brown, or green. Oh, no way. Flowers in soft shades of rose, blue, lavender, and green. Oh, no way. Okay. So you know how sometimes you see a rug and if this is 1930s, we're not talking about the mesh backing on it, right? That's a much newer thing. When you flip over a rug that says hand hooked, and it isn't always hand hooked. It's hand hooked by someone somewhere, or a machine. You know, it's hand hooked by a machine. But you know, nowadays the dead giveaways, you flip it over and it has that kind of mesh on the background, not hand hooked. So even if it says handmade, it's not hand hooked the way that we would say something is hand hooked. But you know how sometimes with older rugs, right, they look like they might be commercial rugs, particularly if they're punched. And you can see the like yarn on the back, right? Not wool strips, but the yarn. And it does look like it has been at least expertly made, if not mass made. Well, a lot of these early rugs are not mass made. They're just punched in factories. And you do get them in those 3 color schemes. I think this cracks open the window to a lot of questions in my head when it says you can pick these designs and you can pick whether you want black, brown, or green for the border. That makes a lot of sense. Those are the 3 most common colors for the border. Please let the dog in. I can hear the dog outside, and there was a fox in the driveway a couple nights ago, so He's like a tiny chicken nugget, you know. So interesting, interesting, interesting. Now, one of the things that I really love here, I'm not personally loving the rugs that I'm seeing, but I have to say the oval one is the most interesting for me. It's not like insanely interesting, but I have to say it's odd, right? Because the number two is not good in composition. They've got two roses in the center, two on each side. Now that's interesting. I have to say I'm love because the roses on the sides are the exact size as the one in the middle, right? Those are three big fat pairs of roses. It does create more interest than for me the other two rugs where it's a bit more predictable. There's not much different going on. That one strikes me as being a little bit more interesting. And the amount of kind of filigree flowers, they look like little wildflowers that break the border, that break the dark border, brown, green, or black. That's interesting for me. This isn't a rug that I would pick up, but it's more interesting than most rugs, of this genre that we see. I'm hoping I took a picture of, yes, I did, the Chinese garden rug. So this is the one at the bottom of the page that Sadie's mom cut out. This is really interesting because this, obviously this is commercial pattern because it's being sold that way. I think that this pattern has got to be based on wallpaper because have you ever been to a historic house that has been decorated in the Chinese import style from the early 20th century, like Beauport? Like Beauport's big room, if you've been there, the one room that has been done over in the history of the house that is not original was done in a Chinese style in the 1920s. And this is the way that the whole room feels, right? But it has incredible amounts of like hand painted wallpaper, Chinese. Um, Right, Judy? It's really charming. It balances a few things. It's got a very simple, it's confusing, but it's got a very simple motif in the center that is like a silhouette of a very simple flower pot done as a silhouette, right? We're not seeing the flower articulated. We're not seeing colors. We're seeing like the spines or the shape, the composition of the basket. And we're seeing lots of leaves coming out just the right way, but it's fairly simple. And then we're getting a few filigree lines that are quite confusing, possibly leading to other flowers, right? Maybe flower pots, but at least flowers. Wallpaper or porcelain, Karen? That's a great question. Saw porcelain in Monet's house like this. Could be either. This whole rash of everything Chinese, right? Everything lacquer, everything Chinese, everything bamboo, everything rattan and wicker, right? This was a moment in time. It was powerful. This is what everybody wanted to decorate with. Everything Chinese all the time. So, yeah, you do get a lot of pottery, dishware, porcelain, stuff like that too. Textiles, paper products, clothing, right? Clothing really, fashion was heavily influenced by all things Chinese at this time. But interesting, this is a very fashionable rug for its day. The background is quite informally done as kind of a lattice, right? And that is considered a Chinese motif too, the lattice. So it's not a lattice like in an English garden, right, where there's lots of right angles and it's very tight. No, this is a very loose lattice. And I mean, you almost don't need a pattern to do this, right? And nor would you need to. You could easily do a simple silhouette of a flower pot and then literally draw in very, very fine filigree lines and add tons of little leaves to them. Tons of little leaves. And that'll do you for a design like this. It's very different. It's very pretty. Looks very old-fashioned. It is not taken from an ancient Chinese rug, right? Wah, wah. It is taken from the mode of the day. And it is hugely improvised. And it is, I'm going to say it, not well done. Design-wise, it's not well done. But it's so not well done that it's actually quite charming. So I love it too. I have to say, I love it too. It has a lot of whimsy. And the maker slash designer was really clutching at the sort of Chinese feel for this rug. successfully or not, right? It has like a slight flavor of, but it has an endless charm, buckets of charm. Really, really sweet. On the facing page is this rug that you've probably seen before, Washington's birthplace rug. Between this and Washington with the cherry tree, oh no, that was Ben Franklin. Remember that Ben Franklin? I think that's an heirloom rug in the streets of Philadelphia. Could have been Washington, I'm not sure. But there are some rugs of the Founding Fathers, and they are very quaint. I have to say, this is the most sort of picturesque of those rugs. Beautifully done. I'm going to stretch this for you, and I'm going to read the text so you can enjoy that when you get a better look at this rug. Because honestly, for a rug from this time, it really is exquisitely done. Right, there's a lot of detail here. There are lots of, this is obviously not Mount Vernon. There are lots, maybe it was, no, it can't possibly be. No, it can't possibly. No, it doesn't look, well, it doesn't look anything like Mount Vernon. I'm wondering if there was like an older house on the property. I'm feeling like there was an older house on the property. No, this is his birthplace rug. It says it right there. I was looking at the fence and thinking about how I read. Probably one of you remembers this better than me, but I remember reading when I was a tour guide that George Washington created the kind of a fence that we now refer to as the ha-ha, which is like a fence that keeps in your animals. It's not going to keep people out, but it's a low fence, and it's not a property fence, but it's a fence that you find like where the land dips, right? Like right before the land dips, not dramatically, just like slopes down. If you can picture a ha-ha in real life, that is an invention of George Washington, one of the many things that he did that was amazing. I remember them saying that at Monticello, talking about that beautiful color of the bluish green paint. Now, what was that in the dining room? Brand new color at that time, considered so fashionable. What the heck was that called? It'll come to me. Does anybody remember that? Verdigris. It was verdigris, and it was like, whoa! It was like, are my eyes bleeding? But I mean, it was so bold and super fashionable because it was super expensive. So he had that in his dining room. He had the ha-ha fence outside, and he had like a cupola on the top of his house. And they said that was also something that he developed because he understood that if you put that on the top of the house and it's just open, that all the hot air rises and will go shooting out the top and give some relief to the lower floors. He was a brilliant, as we know, he was a brilliant, brilliant man. So this is a rug that's based on Washington's birthplace. This old Pope's Creek house was the birthplace of George Washington, a quaint and charming scene. There's a little house, a low picket fence, the roadway, the Potomac in the distance. There is a man and a horse at the door, a barnyard with animals and fowls, a boy leaning over the fence, all in soft colors. A famous artist seeing one of these rugs declared it more appropriate, for a wall decoration than 95% of paintings now in American homes. Ooh, isn't that interesting? The original house was burned when Washington was 3 years old. The restored Wakefield has 2 chimneys and 4 dormer windows in front. The fancy of the artist has had free reign. The fancy of the artist has had free reign with the barnyard scene. Okay. Let the dog in. Uh-oh, I'm going to lose it. We make also an authentic reproduction of the restored Wakefield as it is today, but the whole is not so picturesque or lovely as the more imaginative sketch of the artist, who has, we think, caught the beautiful and homely atmosphere of the scene as it was in colonial days. Ooh, and Judy Phillips says, Mount Vernon website says the building began as a 1.5-story house built in 1734 by George Washington's father. Ooh, Judy, thank you. I wonder if it's in the same spot on the river. I mean, why not, right? If that's his family's land, wouldn't that make perfect sense? You know what else he did that was brilliant was put the outhouses way far away from the house. That was another thing I remember them pointing out because some people didn't and some people couldn't, like people in Boston who they didn't have that much property, so the outhouse was like right near the house, but that becomes very dangerous because that's near your drinking water too. So yeah, interesting. Oh, Judy, interesting. I'm dying to go back down there. I have to say, I keep thinking about when would be a good time to shoot down there because it's not a long drive for me to go to like Washington, and I'd love to take the kids. I always say to them, "Do you want to go to the Smithsonian?" And they're like, they're not sure. They always say, "How long is the ride?" But I'm really hoping that it'll be soon. Also, the Spy Museum is there. I love the Smithsonian, but I think they would really enjoy the Spy Museum. And I'd love to go to Mount Vernon again. It's been very many years since I've been there. I used to go like every week, so I had my fill. But now a long time has gone by. I would love to go there again. So pretty over there. But this one is Wakefield. Oh, you're right. Yep, you're right. But it could still be on the same land because I mean, family land is family land, right? I would think I might have to look into this now. It's going to drive me crazy. But I would think he would think about setting up like on the family's land because otherwise he'd have to buy different land, right? If that's true, if that rug was accurate, and if the river was really right there, because that's like what Mount Vernon looks like. The house is there, and the river's like really right down the hill behind it. Guess if you had to move, you had to move fast, right? If something was going down, you'd want to get to the river for transportation pretty damn quick, right? Interesting. Oh, so much about history is interesting. How can we ever live long enough to talk about everything and discover, turn all of the rocks over? Christine, I love that. All right, let's see what our next little gem is here. Um, yeah, this is really fun. Rosemont, hand hooked rugs. I have to say, this has been driving me crazy. Um, and I shouldn't say it because I know everybody has more money than I do. But I have noticed online that somebody is selling a Rosemont catalog, and it's only like 15 pages long, and they want like $120 for it. And it's been online for years, and it drives me nuts because I really want it because I really want to know the record of what is in that catalog. But it's just hard to spend that much on such a tiny little book that might be a repeat of rugs I've already seen. You know what I mean? But this is what this is a reference to here. And oh, Judy says yes, he definitely took over his father's property. Okay, good. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Thanks, Judy. So Rosemont was a brand. Rosemont hand hooked rugs. Now, okay, let's read it first. No other floor covering for the colonial room has the authenticity and charm of hand hooked rugs. So we've got the model slash maker here, and she is on look at this wooden frame that she's on, right? It's like a needlepoint frame, isn't it? It's all carved and extraordinary. It's all turned and crazy, but she's got a beautiful rug in progress. She doesn't seem to have it super taut, but we can't really see how she's. Oh, one of our workers hooking a rug. The frame used is a 17th century tambour frame. You want to say hello? Okay, don't come knocking down my set. Here comes a child who we love. Here she is. Come here, little puff.
This tree.
Come here. Yeah, come here.
Nice background.
Nice background. Here, come sit down.
Green screen.
Get your face in here, not just a hole. You want to say happy Friday to everybody?
Happy Friday.
Mm. I thought you were going to say something else to give me a chance to have a sip. A little naughty sip from the cup.
That's a weird looking cup.
I know, it's half of the gate in Cologne. I'll see you later, baby. Oh dear, she is. She's so puffy. She's so puffy. She my little sweetie. She likes to be on the camera. My pretty girl. Just cut her hair again. Yeah, your shirt's very good, isn't it? Yeah, you look really pretty.
Look at my hair.
I know.
No one noticed.
What do you mean no one noticed at school? What, are they blind?
Yeah.
What's wrong with them? I mean, I cut like 3 inches off of it. She likes her hair to be a little bit shorter. She's like a 1920s girl. We're doing a kind of 1920s, 1930s episode tonight. Okay, get Totoro out of here. All right, there she goes. I love you. I'll come play with you later and I'll scratch your back, all right?
Okay.
All right,
Give me
good.
a second to
Yeah.
put on your lip chat.
Yeah, put on my lip chat. All right.
So you got the
Kaz
green
says hi.
You got the green screen to work?
Yeah. Incredible, huh? I have to admit, Jay helped me. He was walking me through it over the phone.
Oh.
Can you get that before?
If I put something green on the screen, will it turn into that?
I don't know. This is green.
Okay, hold on. Let me find something better.
All right, don't be doing...
Alright, you ready? Oh! Whoa!
What?
Look at it.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
This is just an ordinary green box.
That is nutsy. Nutsos.
I have green painter's tape. We can make anything with green.
Well, let's not do it while I'm live. Get out. Okay, get out. I love you. All right, go.
Awesome.
That was awesome. All right, let's come back over here. So, God, that did work, didn't it? By hand hooked, the writer of this quotation means not factory made or punched, but hooked with the old time hand hook. No kidding. There are 2 reasons for using the hand hooks. Number 1, the gradual building of colors in changing yet softly blended tones cannot be obtained otherwise. You know, I'm going to have to agree with that. Like, as much as I love punching, and I do, I'm going to have to agree, you do get way more blending and being able to go in and, pull more colors out and add a little more if you're hooking. Interesting. I absolutely agree with that, because when you're punching, if you keep punching in the same area as, when you're hooking, you can get in there quite a few times before you're packing ridiculously, if you really are trying to blend or lighten an area up or something. But while you're punching, if you're punching in an area that you've already well covered, you're going to punch your other loops out. Interesting that they're saying this in something of this age, though, isn't it? That really is surprising. And number 2, quaintness and originality is impossible to achieve with a store-bought rug. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that that's true. That's like a selling remark, but still, The origin, okay, so I'm not going to read that about the origin of the modern hooked rug, because it's not going to... Ooh, wait a minute, maybe I am. They're going to tell us some different things. Okay, Egyptians, we're gonna skip that part. Whatever its beginning, rug hooking was a primitive craft in which the creative imagination had free play. Designs, it is true, were passed from one to the other, but they were reproduced with surprising variations. The old scroll border, for instance, characteristic of some of the most beautiful of our early rugs, is found on the back of a chair in Holyrood Palace. Okay, so I'm assuming that they're referring to Holyrood Palace in Edinburgh, Scotland, right? Does anybody know of another Holyrood Palace? That was one of the scenes of a murder, wasn't it? One of the Scottish royal family was murdered at Holyrood. Isn't that the place? Interesting. Found on the back of a chair in Holyrood Palace. Naturally, the products of such invention harmonize more truly and completely than the Oriental rug with colonial furniture and walls. I don't know. I don't know if a lot of this could possibly be taken seriously as fact. But yes, I mean, the back of a chair and in a palace here, there, Harvard Square, who knows, right? It would be very hard to say where inspiration comes from originally. But we will leave that for modern scholars, I think, just because they have use of the internet, right? To make these sweeping statements. Oh, Kaz, you noticed Totoro. She loves Totoro. Oh, you sent us some great Totoro stuff, too. So, oh, yeah. Interesting. That was very interesting. I have to say, Sadie's mom pulls some crackers out, like wherever she's getting these from. It's like she stuck in her thumb and pulled out a plum. Man, these are some gems we've got here. So this is the next page, and we are looking at on the top flower basket, which is a chair seat that it says it's done in silk. Lantern flower. Ooh, interesting. An adaptation of the old hit or miss design in which an almost infinite variety of colors are mingled. Yeah. You know, I never heard that referred to as lantern flower. That's interesting. It's like the shape of a lantern. That's interesting. Huh. That's really neat, isn't it? All right. Like from the top, you know. Gosh, that's really neat. And then flower leaf. There's nothing written about flower leaf. Flower leaf reminds me of spirograph with the circles overlapping, but the repeat, right, of some of the flowers over the overlapping rings. It's a bit of like the Olympics goes to the 1920s boudoir, and you get these overlapping rings. Is it the year of the Olympics, by the way? Is this an Olympics year? Because it seems like it's been forever since I've seen any Olympics. See, it seems like it's been forever and a day since I've seen the Summer Olympics, or unless I was, asleep at the wheel again. Metaphorically, of course. All right, flower leaf, I love you. All right, now what do we got here? Bruton Parish, Williamsburg, Virginia, originated by us. But we don't know who us is because we don't know. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Do you know what I just realized? Oh, I think as we look at Sadie's mom's scrapbook, I think that these pages are the Rosemont catalog. Wouldn't that make sense? Because they're talking about our rugs. Oh, shoot, but they're not all here. It goes from page 2. Okay, well, there's page 4, 2, 4, 11. But would Sadie's mom have cut anything out of any Oh, she can't do the back sides, can she? I was going to say, well, I definitely don't, I don't have to keep agonizing about that stupid overpriced catalog because, oh, but you know what? I bet some of these are, I think she cut up the Rosemont catalog because also the same color paper and size paper, the Washington rug and the 3 or 4 of the garden rugs, remember? We'll put any color into the background. You choose green, black, or brown. I think these are all Rosemont designs. So that makes me feel better if I end up never buying that before someone else does, because I think I have. Oh God, does that ever make me want to peel them off and look? I can't, can I? I can't peel the pictures off because they might rip. Can I do some sneaky times under there? Oh man, that's what it is. She's got the papers glued down. And she's cut it up too, so it's hard to tell if it's complete. Whoa, that is so exciting though. I own at least part of the Rosemont catalog. So this page is called Brutish Parish, Williamsburg, Virginia, originated by us, and I do believe us to be Rosemont. Summer Olympics in Paris this summer. Thank you, Karen. Oh, that's going to be exciting. I'm excited. So these are beautiful. These are beautiful. So these are specific rugs. Let me make them a hair bigger. These are specific rugs originated, I believe, by Rosemont. And very historic, right? Very historic in design and intention. Let's see. Oh, I've got it locked. Hang on. Let's make them just a little bit bigger because these are really extraordinary again. This one on top. Gosh, I'm trying to think if I've seen this or not. It looks like other rugs I know, but I don't think I've seen this one. Because I think if I had seen this one, I would have thought it was like an English village, you know. Looks like Grantchester or something like that, doesn't it? Little Miss Marple Village or something. It has such a beautiful old-timey look. I love the green with the boys playing with the dog. Love the clustering of the houses and people on the paths and the coach riding by and church anchoring right this part of the town. Absolutely beautiful. It's just beautiful. I love the hit or miss field where the boys are playing with the dog. There's a strong directional pull in this rug, right? There's beautiful shadowing. There's a real attempt at realism here, but it does have a primitive look. And I think that's partly down to the perspective or lack of. The flatness of it, right, is truly a primitive composition. But also like the outlining of the windows and things, there are moments that are a little on the cartoony side. The black dog silhouetted on the top left is really a standout part. It almost looks like somebody inked that in, to be honest. No, it seems to be part of it, but yeah, it really, really stands out. So super, super lovely. And then the one immediately under it as well. Oh, wow. So this one is called Wedgwood. So this must be based on from an old design. Looks like an old Charger or something like that, doesn't it? With this really ornate border. I mean, talk about a border. Holy moly's. It's extraordinary. I love the little river or stream. I don't think it's much of a river. Heading up toward the farmhouse. It is such a country composition with the characters, the figures, including the dog looking at the water as it flows away. Very simple scene, but the border is incredible. You know, it has a very English look, doesn't it? The flowers, just massive profusion of flowers in this border. It's lush. It's incredible. It does look more like pottery. That was a good call earlier, Karen. It really does look like it ought to be painted, because what a thing it must have been to hook this. I mean, this is extraordinary. And there's absolutely no question with some of the catalog stuff that we've been looking at, right, up until the Rosemont, there's been no question that we're calling it a hooked rug, but it's clear that they're being punched with yarn, right, in factories and things, and they're kitting them with yarn and all of that stuff. Not these Rosemont ones. They're really specific to say, we only do hooked rugs, and there's 2 reasons why, and they told us the 2 reasons. But there's no question that these are hooked, right? There's absolutely no question. Nobody would say, no offense to punchers, obviously, I also love punching, but there's no question these are not punched, these are hooked. Interesting. You know, it really is making its point on the nuances and the shading that you can get with hooking, really. And the Rosemont catalog is old. It's 1920s era. Gosh, that's interesting, isn't it? Very excited now. I mean, it sounds so like there's something so wrong with me, but like I seriously hope I can sleep tonight, because now I got myself all ramped up with this is a bunch of new stuff that we figured out just now, right? It's just crazy. All right, let's come back over here. Let's look at a few more things. Oh, we got tons of time. All right, so back to, I'm trying to compare. You know, I think I'm feeling the weight of the paper and the color of the paper, and I'm thinking she's still cutting from the Rosemont catalog. I think this is still the Rosemont catalog. Even though these are interiors, it feels like the same paper. I'm going to do sneaky peeks down the back. Don't worry, I'm not going to rip it. Yeah, this is still a catalog. Yup, without a doubt. Oh, you got to be kidding me. Yep, this is all a catalog. So let me see if I broke it into top and bottom for us to look at a little bit easier. Yep. Nope. So let me come back here. Hang on. Lock you, open you, and let's have a little look into this pretty bedroom and see what they got going here. God, isn't this lovely? Isn't this lovely? Oh my God. Do you know what we are looking at over the mantle? We are looking at a rug hanging on a wall. Without a doubt, that is a rug hanging on the wall. I mean, tell me if you know otherwise. That's the George Washington house, right? And didn't they just say on the last page or a few pages ago, hold on, I'm trying to find the line again. A famous artist seeing this seeing one of these rugs declared it more appropriate for a wall decoration than 95% of the paintings now in American homes. And now they have it further along in their catalog, and they do have it hanging on the wall. I have to say, I do not know. I would have to go through all of my stuff, but to my memory, off the cuff, that is the first example I have seen of a hooked rug hanging on the wall. I can't think of anything because this is a 1920s catalog. I can't think of any example earlier than that. And maybe you can, or maybe we will find that there's 1,000 more, but to my memory, I've never seen one. That is very surprising. That is a rug on the wall. And at that time, right, because they're trying to talk you into it a few pages earlier and saying, well, an artist said this, right? If an artist said this, well, obviously he knows better than you or I. Like an artist said this belongs on the wall, and now here it is on the wall, right? I mean, probably no artist did say that, but they're trying to get people to hang stuff up on the wall so that they can sell more rugs, right? Isn't this interesting? Oh, I love this. All right, that's interesting. That is the Washington rug up above the mantle. And on a beautiful overshot bedspread. Isn't that gorgeous? Overshot curtains as well. Lovely colonial revival house again, right? Beautiful. Late Victorian, looks like wallpaper. Nice soft repeat pattern. Beautiful andirons, all brass and everything looking nice there. A little bit of a nautical touch on the mantle with the Washington rug. This would be a great guest room, right? And a pretty round rug. I can't get a feel for what the design is, but it is lovely. Gosh, that's interesting, isn't it? That is so interesting. And let's look at the one right underneath it as well. Oh, God, beautiful canopy, isn't it? It's like a crocheted canopy top. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, look at the rug on the floor here. I'm looking at the overshot. That is a very small twin bed. That's like a historic good night sleep tight bed, isn't it? Right? That's that kind of a feather bed mattress or stuffed. Beautiful sewing table. Sewing table as the nightstand with a brass candlestick. Looks like there's a little round hooked rug under the candlestick. One of those sewing tables that opens up and the leaves can go up too. And a beautiful floral rug. Lots and lots of busyness. You know, I'm not a big one for floral rugs, but I have to say, when they're this much of a kaleidoscope of color and patterning, then I am all for floral rugs. I never, for myself, I never want a controlled floral rug. If I'm going to have a floral rug, it's going to be like vomiting every type of flower and weed that has ever existed. This is a gorgeous vignette too, and there's another little hooked chair seat on the little rocker there. Yeah, we are looking at the Rosemont catalog. I'm 1000% sure. And this is another page. So they are trying to show you in the catalog, rather than showing you just pictures of, and this photo is out of focus, right? It's not me taking it. It's actually out of focus in the catalog. They are trying to show you examples of where to use your rugs. They want you to buy as many as possible, and they're trying to help you figure out how to place them. So that makes perfect sense. Another pretty scene. Oh, really pretty, isn't it? Another two geometrics here, and that really is consistent with, the placement of 19th century rugs, right? Not colonial, but 19th century rugs were geometrics were commonly placed in the kitchen, bathroom, and bedrooms because they were not considered much to look at. They were considered easier to do, not as interesting, and they were kind of put away for utilitarian use, not for company to see. So it's very well done that they have two strong geometrics in another one of these bedrooms. Really pretty. Let me see what else we got. Oh, okay. And and then we're going to have a little departure at this point because then she skips a few pages that are blank. Right? That's a little bit worrying because it's like, what happened to Sadie's mom then? Because she left some pages blank. And then she started putting in some things that were crochet and quilting. It's almost like she, I'm sorry. It's almost like she was saving it for more catalogs to come. Like she wanted to put more pictures down. So she was saving those pages, but she didn't. So that makes me nervous right there. So this page for you crocheters who, this is a granny square Afghan. And I'm not even sure I like the word Afghan because I think it has 1970s connotations, and certainly the granny square was hijacked in the 1970s. Without a doubt, everybody associates granny squares with the 1970s, but you can see granny squares go way back. These are, if you're a crocheter, these are open granny squares. I did a video at one point of, I think, a closed granny square. I personally prefer the closed granny square because they look way less 70s. There's so many variations on a closed granny square that you can do that look fantastic. And you can make crocheted rugs, as I did in my first book. Really pretty. This is really pretty. Look at that beautiful lamp as well. Isn't that gorgeous? Whipped around the edges. Oh, gosh. That is a look, isn't it? But she put stuff like this in there that was obviously from, it wouldn't be the work basket or something like that because it's color, but she obviously knew how to crochet too. So she put in stuff like that exact thing. And then this is the next page. She's got some quilt blocks that she likes. These are very 1920s era quilt blocks. So it's interesting. These are meant to be done as 18-inch blocks. That's very large. But yeah, these are complicated blocks. So she's got the eccentric star, the flower basket, the Chinese star, the triangle flower, the large double wedding ring. Well, that's interesting because it has a really large center, doesn't it? For those of you who quilt, the wedding ring usually comes in much more. It's not quite that drawn out to the sides because that's not going to really make rings. That's going to make really pronounced, trying to think of what to call that shape that would be okay. Interesting. It is just a little bit drawn, isn't it? Further back than I'm used to seeing. Not as closed anyway. And the last one is the modern tulip. So interesting. I was curious to see what things she had in here for quilt blocks and stuff. We are living at a time where there are so many quilt books, and there's a lot of indexes of quilt blocks, which are their own language. I really hope someday that I know every quilt, that you could just throw a quilt block. This would be a useless superpower, but I would love to be able to say, someone holds up a quilt and I'm like, there we go, that's the bay leaf. I would just love to have that language completely down pat, because I think it's so romantic. But of course, some patterns are called many things, not one thing, but many things. So here we've got the bay leaf, the 8-pointed star, the windmill star. Well, that's quite pretty, isn't it? The windmill star. It's just a repeat. But it does, your eye does all kinds of crazy things, like a kaleidoscope, right? Without all of those pieces. First, it looks like 4 stars, and then when you look at it, it really does have a 1-star motif in the center. Interesting. The oriental star, another oriental star. That's the black and white version, I guess. And then variation on the wedding ring and Dresden plate. Gosh. So she's found a source where she's got some color designs of quilt blocks and crochet pieces. I had to put this in too just for the sake of being complete. This was the only thing on the page, the winged arrow, because I want to show you every image in this book so it's complete, right? So even after I shut it, God forbid anything ever happened to this book, happened to me. This is now, I want every page of this to be recorded. You all have this now too. So it's out there. And then this nice page here where she's showing us a few popular ways of arranging quilt blocks. So if these are 18-inch quilt blocks, they're showing you some ideas for how to set them into your quilt top. So the variation on the wedding ring on the top left, and then the variation on the Dresden plate in the top middle. But you see with the Dresden plate, they put a border in between all of the blocks, right, which would make for a larger quilt, because presumably the square is still 18 inches, but now they've put giant borders throughout. So now we're talking about a much larger piece. On the right, the baskets, they are doing the alternating blank, right? Which is quite good with this design because it is a very fussy and busy design. And maybe your eye needs relief. But that they are tipped, right, diagonally and leaving every other one blank. And then the bottom left, we've got a 4-patch, and they are leaving every other one blank. So, oh, that's a bow tie. Sorry, that's a bow tie, not a 4-patch. That's very pretty, too. I like to see people doing this bow tie, bottom left, design quilters by actually using tie material, right? That makes it so interesting. And then the one in the middle, I think that's that bay leaf. And then on the right, Sunbonnet Sue. And most of these Sunbonnet Sue, if you've got my second book already, if you've received it from me, because I don't think it's out with the book club yet, if you've got my Design Like book, one of the chapters is Design Like Sunbonnet Sue. And I talk about the history of the pattern, the character, the woman who created the character, the short-lived comic. It lasted only about 2 years. All of the children's books, right? And just the evolution of this character. At this time, she was one of the most popular characters out there. And as a result, almost every magazine, every issue would give you lots of images of Sunbonnet Sue doing all kinds of stuff. You would have tons of stuff to choose from. Now, let me see. So then I think I went to... Now, wait a minute. Did I screw this up? No, that's Sadie's house. Hang on. Wait a minute. Let me just check. All right. So, yeah, let's do just a little bit more. We'll go to our usual time. I'm doing okay. If you don't mind me hacking, I don't mind hacking. So this is where we got the clue about her house. And again, this is the periodical that's called Concord Worsted Mills, like worsted weight, Concord, New Hampshire, hooked rugs. And let me read, this is what it looks like. And this is some of the imagery in it. I want to skim some of it with you anyway, so we know what the content is. This is some of the illustration. Oh, Gail, good to see you. I'm doing okay. I sound like I'm coughing up a lung, but I'm really not. I'm doing much better than I have been. Thank you for asking. Yeah, this is really cute. I received your book via the book. Oh, Kathy, it came with the book club on Saturday. Okay, so the book, thank God. I thought I was going to get in trouble. Trouble. How would I get in trouble, right? I'm 52 years old or something, or 51. I can never remember. I'm glad, right? Because I got mine out. I'm glad that those are appearing now too. That's a relief. And by the way, I'm up to date. If you've ordered one from me, I've shipped it. So let's look a little bit at this. Spoiler alert: the back of it. Let's look at the content of this little periodical because it really is so cute. It says hooked rugs. A hooked rug gets its name from the instrument or hook that pulls the strips of material through burlap. Okay, so I'm just going to skim. A clipped rug is better made of wool than of cotton. When this type is made, the stitches or loops are drawn up longer. As the work progresses, the loops are clipped off with sharp scissors. Yeah. Given a shave. Yep. Okay. As some of our workers call it in the process. It is of but little use to clip a cotton rug, for the strands do not separate and form a nice furry surface, as clipped wool does. A tufted, okay, so let's hold on that thought for a second, because what they're saying is that when we're seeing these early clipped rugs, right, the British call them clippies, we're calling them clipped rugs. It is a hooked rug that the loop has been pulled up quite high, and we're not talking about cutting the loop, right, cutting it like just like this, and then both ends, it might be like my fingers, like not quite the same height. That's not what we're talking about. They actually cut into it and cut the whole loop head off with one movement, like so that if the loop was like this, the whole thing gets cut off, right? So it's not this. It's not, if this is the loop, it's not cutting it like this, boop, and then the two ends stick up. No, it's cutting it like this. So sometimes you see a rug that looks like you can see the cross section almost like of wood when you look at all of the individual loops, and you think, ooh, is it a clipped rug or has it just taken a horrible beating? If the whole rug looks like you can almost see like rings of a tree in it, it's a clipped rug, right? It's not a worn down rug. And they're telling you how to do the clip, right? It's not just cutting it like latch hook, it's cutting it right off, right? And a tufted rug has flowers or other designs made of wool or a number of strands of wool drawn through the burlap high enough to permit being sheared off at an angle to gradually taper down to the stitches of the background. Okay. I think that's what that cat rug was, what they would call a tufted rug, right? So they're trimming it to different heights. So maybe they were not using the adjustable punch. I think they were probably cutting it. If this is the word of the day, then that makes more sense, doesn't it? Although I can't be sure that they weren't using the punch, obviously without looking at the rug. Let's see, gradually taper down. This form is effective for roses, leaves, scrolls, but such a rug does not withstand the hard wear of a rug with a smooth surface. Tufting, then, is generally only a part of the rug, the background being filled in with loop stitches. Okay, I think that's what they were doing, right? So this is interesting because honestly, this is not talk that I have gotten heavy doses of, like snatches of from time to time, but these are heavy doses of very technical information in Sadie's mom's scrapbook. So we're not talking about Waldeboro. We're not talking about adjustable punch. We're talking about a technique for hooking high and trimming at different heights, but not like packing for Waldeboro to sculpt, to create three-dimensional surface sculpture, right? We're just talking about clipping. Some of it's clipped high. Remember the cat rug that Melissa liked? Some of it's left high, like the border and some of the fruits or flowers or whatever. And the background is very, very low or not clipped, right? Because if it's very, very low, you can't clip it. It'll just fall right through. If it's quite low, you have to leave it as looped. So that is so interesting. And it's saying materials to use. Whether to use old or new materials is a question. Each worker must decide for herself. Naturally, new materials last longer than old. In every old garment, there are always good parts. In old clothing, sheets and blankets often make softer and more pleasing rugs than new goods. If a rug is being made for wear and service, do not use silk. Any rug with silk in it, even a little silk, will not wear as long as one of wool or cotton or a mixture of wool and cotton. So far as relative values of wool and cotton are considered, both materials are good, and used together, they are excellent. Wool rugs are softer than those of cotton, but it is wise to use a little of both unless a clipped rug is being made, when wool should be selected. This is so good. I can't believe how good this is. This is so clear, right? I always wondered, sculpted, yeah. I always wondered about some of this, what the sort of word on the street was, you know what I mean? What, and it will be different, I think, from source to source, because in this case, we're talking about a mill, right? This material is coming out of a mill. It's information for Hooker. We'll continue with this next week. But they're also selling patterns, right? This is where we'll pick up on Monday. But they're also selling patterns. I think not that I think it's going to be slanted or untrue, what we read, accidentally untrue maybe, but I think for companies who are just selling patterns, their information might be a little different than, or their preferences and recommendations might be a little different than, for example, a company that is just selling handmade rugs finished, right? They're going to tell you different things. So it's interesting because this is really good old contemporary information in here. We still have a little ways to go, so we'll pick this up on Monday. We'll finish looking at that Concord Mills thing, and then we'll look at the last rugs that she's got in here, because she does have a lot of blank pages. That doesn't bode well, because I don't think her passion for rugs just suddenly ended. Do you know what I mean? Oh man, but wasn't it fun? Oh, you know what I just noticed also? On some of the last pages, well, on one of them, she glued in a rug and she put the words upside down. Oh, I hope nothing was going on with her, because she was so careful for so long. Gosh, it makes you think, doesn't it? Makes you wonder. Well, we will carry on with Sadie's mom's scrapbook. Let's finish this on Monday. I really love looking at this. I really love holding it. It's just a beautiful thing. It's just beautiful. Such a happy time for her putting this together. Wasn't it fun to find that house? That got me going. That was fun. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that looks like a house that was there in the early 1930s. There's no reason to think it wasn't. I guess a little more research could be telling, but it certainly looks like that era of house, doesn't it? It looks, I mean, those bungalow houses we were seeing early in the 20th century. So it would have been still a fairly new house in 1932. I wonder if Sadie gave this to her mom in person. Um, it's hard to know because it doesn't really give that away. It just says happy birthday 1932. Huh. So interesting. Oh gosh, I wish I could time travel. If I could time travel tonight, you know where I would go. I have the address. Well, hey, thank you for joining me tonight. I hope I wasn't too gross. Give me another minute. Just kidding. I will finish. I was eating some nice Indian food. I'm gonna finish that as soon as I log off. But it was fun getting back into it and talking about Sadie's mom's scrapbook again and catching up a little bit. I really missed being with you during the week and missed talking and having our crazy conversations about such little things, but they are quite big things, really. We are laying down a lot of foundation and groundwork for a craft that has been documented here and there and by different people and usually with different ends in mind. But we have for years been laying down a lot of groundwork on this craft, and it's good to get back to it, right? It is important work, I think, to talk about this stuff, and you all give me such great ideas every time we have a live show. I hope you have a really happy weekend. I'm not sure what is in store for me yet. I'm still working on stuff like crazy. I got a lot of orders out. I've got all but one order out, things that were ordered in person in New Hampshire last week. I'm on my last thing. I'll finish that when I go downstairs. And then I will be totally have shipped all of the New Hampshire orders, which is nice. I'm also catching up with all of my online orders. And I am working on my projects for Magpie. It might be that I only get to put 2 of my pieces in rather than 3. I'm hoping I can get my crochet article in there too. I'm just not sure. Being sick did knock me off my game a little bit, I have to admit. And although I didn't take any days off because I got to be me, I was moving slower for a few days. So that's a bummer. But I will definitely have my 2 main things in there at least. My Gertrude Chico, right, my quilt piece, and then the Secret Garden piece that I'm working on right now. Man, is that a big piece. What was I thinking? So I'll at least be doing that this weekend, getting some stuff ready. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I'm going to... Oh, see, that hurts when I tip my head upside down. That does not feel good. I hope my brain's not going to leak out or something. Next hook along, right? I'm getting ready to plan the next hook along. And what I'm going to do is I'm projecting forward to Magpie Times, the 2nd issue, and the theme of that will be Midsummer Magic. So for the next hook along, I did a design earlier today that is like of a birdhouse with like a primitive salt box on top of it. So like the birdhouse is like this little old time salt box. And there's all these crazy vines coming up around it that are based on like Hungarian, English, embroidery designs from other cultures. And this hook along is going to be very different. I'll show you a picture of it tomorrow when I get a little bit further. But it's going to be a multi-medium hook along. So it's going to be this image that I have of the little birdhouse on a stilt, and like a vine coming up on one side with the bird and some flowers, and then a vine coming up on the other with a big sunflower. And I'm going to, it's on rug warp, I'm going to paint the background, right, with like some of my acrylics and metallic stuff. I know it sounds gaudy, but it's not going to be. It's going to be like a purpley, pinky blue, kind of going toward dusk, magic sky. And then the rest of it is going to be in different parts, hooked and sewn. So the kit is going to come with, if you order it, a painted background where the sky is painted because the sky will remain exposed, and then wool for hooking, the parts that will be hooked, different kinds of yarns and floss, and a needle, right? Because for other parts, we're going to stitch them in together, some flat pieces of uncut wool for wool applique. So it's going to be hooked, applique, and a few stitch techniques that we're going to do together in the next hook along. So I'm getting all that sorted out, and I'll put a date on that in March. And that will be super fun. And everybody who gets that done, even if you don't do it in the same colors as me and stuff, maybe we can turn that into an article for the next issue of Magpie. Because I think it's a really pretty pattern. It's really good for summer, magical feel to it, you know. And it also is a 12 by 12. Like the finished piece is 12 by 12. Some beading in there too. So it's 12 by 12. So that's a standard size frame that you can get. So if you end up finishing yours and loving yours, and there's a lot of wiggle room too. You could put extra stitches in if you want more than I do, right? We could each bling ours out differently. And then you just put it into a standard frame, no glass. And boom, there it goes on the wall and you're all done. So I thought that will be fun because it's not just a hooking project, and it will have that magical summer feel to it. So yeah, that was one of the things I worked on today. I'm very happy with that. And yeah, more happening. Check out the website. I could definitely use some orders. And yeah, I will see you all on Monday. And we will conclude our look at Sadie's mom's scrapbook. And in the meantime, have a great weekend. If you have anything for me, write me at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. If you have anything for Magpie, you have any questions, write to me there. You know I will always send you an answer. Have a great weekend, everybody.